Shockwave is not going to find aiming, who manages to sprint his way out, and now a Realm Walk to come on forward. Vikla just kind of, sorry,
hey, T1 Gumayusi, play of the week. Dude, I watched Gumayusi versus HLE yesterday. He like wasn't even impressive versus HLE. He like ran it down once versus HLE. I don't know. I don't understand why Guma's so hyped. Like, isn't Ruler just significantly better than Gumayusi? Like, isn't it just like night and day? Like, he is a tier above Gumayusi. But then for some reason, Gumayusi gets hyped like he's the better player. Like, Ruler is really impressive, but Gumayusi just kind of isn't. Man. Guma isn't performing right now, but when is Guma performing? When his team is in 18-0, then all the players are just the best. Like, Guma, like, dude, this is what I was saying before MSI. Gumayusi was one of the worst players on T1, even when they were 18-0. Just because you're an AD carry and you end up looking good at the end of games doesn't mean that you're actually playing better. One of the biggest weaknesses of T1 in spring was the fact that whenever they would go into like their 1-3-1 and Gumayusi would go mid, he would just get caught. He would just pull the crown shot and run it down like once per game. Like, obviously, I mean, it wasn't actually once per game, but he would run it down frequently. That was one of the biggest weaknesses that T1 had. But then for some reason, because he's like has good mechanics and pops off in fights or whatever, he's just considered the best AD carry in Korea. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I don't know. It just feels like every player, when they're on a team that's as dominant as T1, just has to be considered the best in their role. There's no possibility that a team that's as dominant as T1 doesn't have the 5 best players, or else why would you be dominant? I feel like that's the mindset of a lot of the fans. Like, look, the best player on the team in spring was Keria, right? Like, don't you think that influences how the AD carry is going to look when you have the best support? People were saying Keria was the best support in the world by far. I don't know if I would have gone that far, but I mean, he was definitely one of the best supports in the world, and he was definitely the best player on T1. I think Guma was never good. No, I mean, I think he was like fine. I just don't think that he was like, yeah, that he was the best AD carry in the world by far ever at a point. I don't think there's been one point where Gumayusi was the best AD carry in the world by far. No contest, which is the label that he had. I think that he was like maybe like top 5, you could say, at his peak.